Hi folks, before I get into what this video is about, allow me to give you an historical background. That's me kids, history teacher Tony. In Asia, between Japan and Russia, there is a chain of islands. That's them kids, those are the islands. I think the whole chain is called the Kuril Islands. And over the years, ownership has switched among those islands. But basically, they're Japanese islands. The Japanese laid claim to most of those islands. And it was going back and forth. But in 1855, while there was a treaty signed between Russia and between Japan, establishing the border on those islands on who owned what territory. That was it, kids. A border. Then in 1875, or was it 1895? No, 1875, another treaty was signed between the two countries, moving the border further north. And in return, the Russians got control over other land on an island that's not in the map. So it was an exchange, basically. So these islands remained under Japanese control until 1945. The end of the Second World War. The Russians, the Soviets, were not involved in the war in the Pacific. A few days before the end of the war, they decided to invade the Japanese in Manchuria. That's what they did, kids. So now, on the 15th of August, 1945, essentially the war was over, a surrender by the Japanese. Not the official surrender, but an announcement of the surrender by the Japanese. A few days after this, the Russians, the Soviets, the commies, they invaded the Kuril Islands. That's what they did. They stole the islands. Hey, wait a minute. The war was over. Not as far as the commies were concerned. They stole the islands from the Japanese. There were 17,000 Japanese citizens and residents on those islands. And the Russians shipped them to Japan at Hokkaido, which is the northernmost big island of Japan. So they got rid of the Japanese off the islands, and to this day, the Russians still say, those are our islands. Who cares if we stole them? They're ours. So now the Russians, the barbarians in Russia, they want to develop those islands. And who did they ask? They asked other countries. Come on, develop those islands, so says us. So the commies in China sent people there to help develop it. The lunatics in North Korea sent people there to come help develop it. That's really valid, isn't it? Commies and commies helping barbarians. But now the barbarians in Russia, they have now asked the Japanese companies, hey, come to these islands we stole from you and help develop it economically. Why don't you get a piece of the action? Hello? You stole those islands from us. That's right, us. We Japanese citizens. You stole those islands from us. Then you want Japanese companies to come in there and help develop it economically? What, are you stupid? But let me tell you something. This is a double-edged sword. Yes, the Japanese companies should tell them to get lost. But if the Japanese companies are allowed to and do develop into that area, you Russians better watch out. These are not stupid people you're dealing with. We'll see you. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the nation you happen to be in. See ya. I say this because during the beginning of the last century, there was a war between Russia and Japan. And the Japanese... They absolutely destroyed Russia. Are we going to see the same thing at the beginning of this century, but fought differently?